Hi, Jim Blocky here from Las Vegas, Nevada, and I just want to focus on a couple of hypocrisies about the NFL and their substitute or replacement referees. Yeah, they weren't real good, but either are the regular officials, for that matter. The outrage that happened over Monday night's football game was way out of proportion to reality. Was the call at the end of the game, was it a bad call? Maybe. I mean, it wasn't as controversial as they made it. I mean, the defender who intercepted the ball, supposedly, I mean, he has to have both feet on the ground before he has control of it. So, did the Seattle receiver have his hands on the ball? Maybe. It wasn't a physical impossibility, but it was controversial. But it's the third game of the season. Get over it, Green Bay. Get over it, guys. The integrity of the game had nothing to do with, and has nothing to do with, the replacement referees. If you want to talk about, integrity of the game, let's talk about one team in particular who've been screwed on more than one occasion, and not the third game of the season. Go back to 1974 when Dallas was playing Minnesota, and Preston Pearson shoved the defender to catch the ball and go score a touchdown with 17 seconds left. Dallas went to the Super Bowl that year when they shouldn't have even won that playoff game, and that was the game to get into the NFC Championship game. I mean, 6 cameras showed definitively that he pushed the defender, and it was pass interference. The call, or lack thereof, cost Minnesota the game. And that wasn't even the worst call of the game. The play before that on 4th and 22, Roger Staubach threw the ball about 10 yards out of bounds. Maybe not 10, 5 yards out of bounds. The receiver caught it and had no way of getting back into play. But the official, the non-replacement official, called it a catch, said the defender pushed him out of bounds. Replay showed that was physically impossible to do. And there was no outrage. Did you see on Monday Night Football game the media afterwards? They were inconsolable. They were dumbfounded. They were speechless, which isn't a bad thing, but they were so overdramatic about this whole thing. This was the third game of the season. That was the game to get into the NFC Championship game. Let's get to this millennium. Arizona's playing Minnesota. Minnesota needed to win to get into the playoffs. The last play of the game, the quarterback throws the ball, the receiver catches it. It wasn't as definitive as in the Dallas-Minnesota playoff game in '74, but it was pretty impossible for that guy to have caught that ball and get his feet back in bounds. Since his momentum was taking him out of bounds, when he caught the ball, his feet were already past the out-of-bounds line. There's just no way he could have physically gotten back in, and the replay showed it. Where was the outrage? You know how outraged they were? The announcer says, well, Minnesota shouldn't let it get to that point. But those were regular officials that blew those calls. You want to talk about integrity of the game? How about the lack of outrage over New Orleans Saints and their bounty? I mean, that really should have upset so many people. I mean, to put a bounty out to hurt people. And again, it was Minnesota against New Orleans to get into the Super Bowl. There was at least 3, if not 4, times when Brett Favre was cheap shot late. I mean, extensively late. And only once was a flag thrown in his favor. The officials even apologized to Brett Favre afterwards for failing to make a call. The very first set of downs Minnesota had, Brett Favre was hit so late that the receiver had actually caught the ball or was just about to catch the ball when he was hit. That's how late it was. There was no flag. There was a flag on the play, but that was because the receiver got hit about 10 yards out of bounds. You know as well as I do that when you put a quarterback under that kind of pressure, you can intimidate that guy. And Brett Favre was intimidated by the end of that game. That game went to overtime. If just one other time they had made a call for a late hit, they wouldn't have gone to overtime. Brett Favre probably wouldn't have thrown that interception either. When he threw that ball, I remember pretty definitively that he threw that ball and he was looking around to see if he was going to get hit. up to even 4 or 5 seconds after he threw the ball. The late hits in this game are what are really destroying the integrity of this game. The inconsistencies by the regular officials, not just the replacement officials, is hurting the integrity of this game. And the announcers, the media, you're hurting the integrity of this game because you focus so much on what appeals to you. If a principal in a high school were to tell the kids that this teacher sucked, kids will treat that teacher with no respect, and he's not going to get anything done. In other words, he actually will have been a self-fulfilling prophet, because the teacher will not suck because the kids aren't going to listen to him. Same thing in the NFL. You've brought up and you have examined under a microscope every time a replacement official makes a mistake. Specifically this one. Well, you got your guys back. You got your NFL refs back. I expect you to put the same kind of scrutiny on them as you did the replacement officials. And if you don't, that will just further prove my point of that's where the lack of integrity is going in the NFL. Jim Blocky, Las Vegas, Nevada.